Stephen Mansfield, New York Times bestselling author and speaker.
Doug Tenaple, I'm the creator of Earthworm Jim.
Tweet groups.
I'm Victor Dweck.
Joseph Carter, I'm the Mink Man.
This is Dave Baker from Forged in Fire.
This is Leanne Morgan. I'm a comedian, and this is why you should never
Don't ever.
Not ever.
Don't waste your time.
Oh, you really should.
listen to those darling, yummy Reverend and the Reprobate.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Reverend and the Reprobate. My name is Lucas Pinkert. I'm an actual pastor here playing the part of the Reverend today, and with me, as always, is a man who does not know bovine terminology. No. It is the man, the myth, the Reprobate himself, Dan Gibson. What's up, Big? What's up, Dixon?
I'm doing great. What about yourself?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited.
And you're
today.
right. I don't know anything about cows.
We
tried to reach
we learn a lot about cows today.
Oh, yeah.
We have on one of the most obscure people, as far as like in the vein of things we've done before.
Very niche.
Yeah, probably only up there with Joseph Carter, the Mink Man.
I almost mentioned him a couple times.
Yeah. Well, so. Let's tell everybody about our guest, Graeme Parker, the Hoof GP. He's got over 1 million subscribers on his YouTube channel.
Take it away. Keep going.
Trimming cow hoofs.
Doing great.
And popping abscess and just taking care of everything that has to do with that. It's a fun channel. It's also very educational. You talk a little bit in the interview about how you found out about this channel because I had flooded our shared YouTube account, the Rev and Rep YouTube account, all of the recently watched
Everything
videos.
disappeared. It was all hoof videos.
Yeah, went from Batman spoilers to hoof videos.
Yeah. YouTube was just like, you love hooves. I was like, what is this?
And that's what
I checked it out and it was cool. But I wasn't sure how the algorithm got a hold of that, and
that
you discovered a nice little niche.
Yeah, we
from a very, very cool Scottish lord.
I was talking to Graeme talked to us about how he got into hoof trimming, why hoof trimming is important.
He's not a lord.
how his YouTube channel grew.
I assume maybe he is.
And maybe so. I mean, he could be. I mean, who in Scotland is it? He talks to us about Scotland, talks to us about Dr. Pepper in Scotland, which is a thing that's very near and dear, and gives us some of the finer points about what haggis actually is and how to cook it. It's Graeme Parker, the Hoof GP, pre-recorded live on Reverend and the Reprobate.
Coming at your eye holes right now. From damn music.
Well, Big Dan Expo on our show today is one of my absolute favorite YouTubers and one of the guy whose videos my wife absolutely cannot watch. It is the Hoof GP himself, truly a man, myth, and legend. It's Mr. Graeme Parker. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. All the better for seeing you guys.
So you're calling from Scotland, so we got a little bit of a time difference. So you're, I think, 6 hours ahead of us. Where in Scotland actually are you located?
So I'm right on the southwest. Can you guys swear on your show, or do you not?
Oh yeah, you can. We can bleep it out if we need to. Yeah, whatever you want.
You call it that. We're affectionately known as Soul of Scotland because we're like right at the very bottom. So that's where everybody knows us at. But Scotland is like about half the size of Texas, if that. So it's not very big. It still takes you maybe 4 hours to drive halfway up and maybe 8 or 9 to the top.
Okay, so what's the actual name of the city?
So my nearest city is Glasgow. We only really have two main cities, Edinburgh and Glasgow.
Right.
And I'm about 2 hours south of Glasgow.
Okay, so I lived in Aberdeen for a little while.
I'm familiar with Glasgow from Braveheart.
Yeah.
And Edinburgh.
Yeah, it's just the same. Yeah, it even looks the same now in some parts.
So I lived in Aberdeen for a little while, and then I lived in Cromarty up on the Black Isle for about 4 months. And our closest city, I was a 45-minute bus ride from Inverness, which was the closest city that we had to anything. So I'm a little familiar with the area, and the country itself is just absolutely gorgeous. And I have to say, already talking to you, man, I miss the accents because everybody here sounds like just generic American, and the Scottish accent is just so awesome, man.
Yeah, your accent is not as thick as I would have expected. Do you think the same about us? Like, do we sound like cowboys?
Sorry, what did you say?
Like, do we have thick Southern
I'm
accents?
kidding. I completely understand everything you say.
You got me.
Yeah, you sound like you're straight out of the Wild West.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we pretty much are.
Yeah, we rode our horses here today, actually, to set up for the podcast.
Speaking of horses who also have hooves,
yes,
you specialize in a certain medical practice with, I'm trying to think of their medical name, cows.
Yeah, with bovine.
Bovine. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Bovine podiatry.
So yeah, tell our audience a little bit, those who may not know or who haven't heard of you, what it is that you do.
So basically, I describe myself as a weight distribution technician. So I make sure that the weight on cows' feet is evenly spread across the cow's feet to make sure they're as comfortable as they possibly can be. And if they've got a sore bit, then I try to make sure the weight is off of that area. So all I'm doing is moving weight around the cow's feet by trimming them. So yeah, I look after the cows, the cows. I look after the hooves of cows and bulls across the southwest of Scotland.
So how did you, this seems like such a wildly specific thing. And so we're in Texas. Even those of us who haven't grown up on farms, we've grown up around cattle, the cattle industry in North Texas, especially like in Fort Worth. The stockyards are a huge, not just tourist attraction, but we go to them whenever we're kids. And, so from age of 5 on up, we're familiar with that. The Texas State Fair has one of the biggest stock shows in the U.S. And so that's always one of the big attractions here in our area. We're really familiar with farriers. Guys that go and that shoe horses. I had never heard of a hoof trimmer until I came across your YouTube channel. And every farmer that I talked to since then, and especially the cattle ranchers, are like, "Oh yeah, we have to have hoof trimmers. They're an essential piece to everything that we do." How did you get into something that is so specific and so niche as hoof trimming?
I've got a really long backstory, which I'm not going to bore you with because we would literally be here for hours.
Perfect.
Thanks.
A long story cut short is I am a farmer's son. My father died when I was 15. I entered the hospitality industry. And actually I was living just outside Inverness on the shores of Loch Ness next to Arkirk Castle. So I know where you were really well. And at the time my mother had remarried a guy called Davy McGarvey, and he was a cattle hoof trimmer. Now what happened was he became really, really ill. He was hospitalized and I wasn't enjoying the job I was in on the shores of Loch Ness. So I came back to run his business for a while, but I obviously couldn't trim a cow's hooves because it's too complicated to just pick it up. And actually, it's such a dirty job. At the time, I said, there's no way I will ever trim a cow's feet. There's no chance. It's never happening. Fast forward 10 years and I'm trimming cow's feet. So I basically helped him out with his business, and it was just out of looking for something new to get into and something to get excited about. And I like finding out new things. And I changed my career a lot throughout my entire life. But when it came to cows' feet, there's always something new to learn, and I'm constantly helping these animals get over these problems. So literally on a daily basis, you've kind of got the feel-good factor of going to work to do something you love, but also getting paid. So it's a total win-win for me.
Well, I got exposed to your channel through Lucas. We share, we each have our own individual YouTube accounts, but we do share one for our show that we, we're posting things, and while we're posting things, we're also probably searching. Yeah, browsing. And all of a sudden, it just exploded with cow hoofs. and it is really interesting, all of the, because there's, when you think of, you say trimming hooves and taking care of their feet, that sounds really simple, but when you look at what actually goes into it, there's sores, which I think you mentioned earlier. If you're into the, the Dr. Pimple Popper or the cysts or abscesses, that's what you deal with a lot, right?
Yeah, so it can appear that I deal with it a lot more than I actually do. I do deal with it on a daily basis, but I'm trimming 300 or 350 cows every week. And out of those 300 or 350 cows, there's maybe only 2 or 3 of them that are abscessed. And that's out of the farms which I deal with during that particular week might have maybe 5,000 or 6,000 cows between them. So yeah, I am dealing with abscesses on a daily basis, but it's actually a very small percentage of what I actually do. It's just, it kind of gets more screen time because that's what people find intriguing. And obviously there's going to be a bigger difference from a cow that can't touch the ground with her feet to a cow who kind of looks normal already, and I just polish her up and let her go. So sometimes I think, wait a minute, people maybe get the wrong kind of impression of dairy farms here. It's not all gore and all pus and all that kind of things. But on a personal level, I kind of like those ones the best because they're the most interesting cases. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And good on you for marketing it in such a way that it seems like all you deal with is pussy cow hooves all day long.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't want to watch an episode of Dr. Pimple Popper where there's a guy that goes in and he gets prescribed a cream.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see, I want you to numb it up. I want you to cut that sucker out. I want you to do the post where you open it up and you show me with the inside of the gooiness. That's what I want to see.
And there's a lot of satisfaction in watching you trim and you do show some regular cow trims that it seems like they're over and done with in about 30 seconds. That you take the cow's hoof, you put it in the crush. And then I'm using all the proper terminology.
I was going to say, he's got all the technical jargon. Listen to him.
You just got to say it in the right accent.
Not going to happen. I'm not going to try and butcher Graham's beautiful accent. So you trim the hoof, you put it back down, and the cow goes away. And you showed several of those. The ones that are the most intriguing to me are the ones that don't seem like there's anything going on. And then all of a sudden you get in with the knife, and it's like half the hoof tends to be detached, and then we get this beautiful narration of everything that's happening. Well, I want to hop into, like, obviously what your worst cases are and what are some of the things that you see, but before we go down that road, I'm really curious as to how you determine in your videoing process, when do you start shooting a cow? Are you shooting video of all the cows that you do all day long? Or are you waiting until you get a cow that limps and you're like, all right, now we're going to try and do this? How is it that you determine when to turn the camera on and when to turn the camera off?
Okay, so rather disappointingly, I've got an upload schedule. So I try to upload 2 or 3 times a week. Right. So that kind of determines when I'm not going to film. I definitely don't film all of the cattle that we trim. So first and foremost, what's like really important to me is I'm a cattle hoof trimmer. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And a YouTuber second. YouTube kind of has taken over my life, but the basis of what I am and what I'm kind of true to is trimming cows' feet and customer service. So the customer comes first. So we use GoPros, and they just get thrown to the side if they're getting in the way, if they're distracting me in any way, they just get thrown to the side and forgotten about. So when it comes to picking which cows we're gonna film for YouTube, it'll either be a cow when it comes in, I think this is something I've not covered properly for a while. So something I can teach to a farmer. So the vast majority of people who are watching are from inner cities, either stateside or in the UK. They obviously aren't looking to be taught anything, but they are enjoying the kind of infotainment style of video that we do. But I'm trying to teach farmers as well how to look after their cows. So for instance, if I got a sole ulcer, then a sole ulcer, then a sole ulcer, then a sole ulcer, I'm not teaching the farmer anything new. I'm not refreshing people's memories. So when something new comes in that hasn't been kind of showcased for a couple of weeks or a month or whatever, then I'll film those ones. And then it comes back to, I have a list of cows that I've featured on the channel, and we'll specifically seek out those cows to see how they've progressed, or in some cases, unfortunately, how they haven't progressed. But those ones are equally as important because it's good to show she never progressed because of this. This is the reason. And that teaches the farmers how they can make sure that those things don't intervene with her recovery. So there's a few different ways that I'm constantly choosing different cows to film. I'll warn you, I can waffle on for hours, by the way, so you will need to interject sometimes.
I mean, we had you on to interview you, not so that we could tell you how awesome your videos were, because we could do that also.
I am curious, are there any examples that you think of off the top of your head of you've done some corrective measure, you've given some preventative steps, and this cow just got worse or did not improve? What are some
Yeah.
of the, go ahead.
Yeah, so for instance, there's a video that says the worst cow ever on the Hoof GP, or it says something like that. And it's a cow with the front left foot. I can remember a number. It's cow 89. And basically, she was horrific. We trimmed her. She was much better on the second visit. And then on the third visit, she'd reverted back towards the first visit. And what it was I had thought she'd got over an infection. So I'd used a different product on the second visit, a more mild product. And she had started to regress and go back to where she was on the first visit. She wasn't quite as bad, but she was going backwards. So then I had to say, look, I changed the product for the second visit. Actually, I messed up. I should have used the strong product again. So we did that. And then she almost made a full recovery. She's still kind of on the road to recovery. So yeah, there are definitely cases that go backwards. Another case is there's quite a famous cow now on the channel called Gracie, cow 812. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, if, for instance, you, Dan, had a sore left foot and I started to heal your left foot, you would hop around on your right foot because you'd be taking the weight off your left foot. Mm-hmm. So eventually your right foot would become sore because you were using it too much. And in her case, it kept happening on the opposite foot. So we would start to get the left one better and the right one would start to go backwards, and then vice versa. And it kept changing throughout the course of a year. Every time it was slightly less and we actually got her back to full health, but it took a year. But yeah, so it's not just simple, wow, couple of swipes of the knife and I'm fantastic, she's fixed. It doesn't work right. I wish it did work that way, but it doesn't.
I liked your first example of you ended up changing the medicine or whatever you were using, which is what every nurse friend of mine has always said is, if they give you antibiotics, you take the whole bottle, you finish the whole round of it, you don't change it up, you don't stop it.
Yeah, 5 days
just because you're feeling
good.
better, keep using it.
Okay, so go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree with you. That's right.
Oh, well, good.
I'm right. Go
Congratulations. So you started off the channel, and people who have followed the channel for a while, I'm fairly new to it, just the last few months, but I've gone back and watched, I don't know, we've probably got played on like almost every one of your videos now. Has been in the background while I'm supposed to be doing other work. So there are some really early videos where it looks like you started the YouTube channel as a way to educate farmers. You've continued in that as you've kind of made a pivot a little bit to doing some infotainment stuff. But as we did some research for the show, you actually have a course where you teach people how to trim hooves. Can you tell us a little bit about that in particular and what your aim is with that course, how it's different from the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I'm going to touch on what you first said there about why I started the channel. Originally, I was taking loads of photographs and little videos on my phone to show farmers and say, look, this cow's got this. This is a problem and this is why it's a problem. This other farmer had this and we did that. So I was like constantly trying to show different photographs, different videos, and it was just really messy. And I was constantly explaining the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, why not just throw it on YouTube and then I can direct everybody towards that? But by direct everybody, I mean farmers like my farmers. I wasn't really looking for other farmers. I wasn't looking for anybody else. It was just a hub where I could upload a video to show people. And that kind of morphed and other people started watching that weren't necessarily attached to agriculture. So the whole channel started to kind of morph because I'm a great believer in feedback. So I was in hospitality for 11 years nonstop. And if you weren't getting customer complaints, that was a bad thing because it meant you couldn't improve. So I'm not saying I got complaints in the comment sections, but people were saying, oh, we like this, we like that. So it started to morph into different things. And then what I realized was there are now so many videos on the channel. This was when there was about 150 videos. There are now so many videos on the channel that, yes, you can learn different things about hoof trimming, but it's not chronological. It's not in an order. It's not concise and you don't start here and finish here. And then I kept thinking, I should do a course. I should do a course somehow. And then I was so busy because obviously I work full time as a hoof trimmer, and then YouTube's like 40 or 50 hours a week as well. And just out of the blue, a company called Peak Reach Media reached out and said, look, do you fancy doing this? And I was like, yeah, we could do that. And it took 10 months, believe it or not, of script writing and all that kind of thing to make sure everything was as concise and as perfect as possible. And then they only actually took 2 days to film, and it was really well uptaken. Actually, in the first 2 months, we sold over 600 online courses.
Wow.
Which, and if you were somebody creating video, sort of online video production courses, you'd be looking for thousands. When the world of hoof trimming, there's probably no one in the world that's taught more people how to hoof trim cows now, which wasn't my aim, but I'm pretty happy it's turned out this way, obviously, because it helps cows and farmers in general.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's really cool. And my brother has a farm. He's got a couple of cows. He by no means has a herd. Like my uncle used to be the ranch boss at a ranch where they had 200,000 head of cattle out in West Texas. Then I remember growing up, and we would go on the roundups, and we would have really experienced cowboys that were on quarter horsers that were doing their stuff. And then we would be on four-wheelers or in helicopters trying to find the stray cows or scare away, coyotes or whatever we're trying to get at the stray parts.
To everyone
of the herd.
listening, we are awesome in Texas.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. But now that my brother's working his small farm, there are things like this that he has to think about. If in your course, is it tailored? Probably is the best way to put it. Is it tailored something that's the small farmer can use, or is it mainly for people that have larger ranches, and where would, I guess, the average person find this useful if they're on a ranch or they are taking care of their own cows? So
it's very much tailored towards the phrase, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So it explains the absolute most obvious things in the world. This is a cow. She has 4 feet. And then it goes down to the very minute things that are probably never even mentioned on the Hoof GP YouTube channel. The fact that the bottom third of a cow's hoof, on the solar region anyway, has got 135 tubules of keratin protein per mil. So, so basically, tubules, just to touch on what that is, the more tubules keratin has, the tougher it is. So we explain exactly how many tubules are in each part of the foot so that people understand that the wall horn is much, much stronger than, for instance, the sole of the cow's foot towards the rear. That's where all the suspension is. So yeah, it goes from like day one, this is what a cow is, explaining that all the way through to everything you could ever possibly need to know about hoof trimming. And the reason I was so attracted to doing an online course, because people kept saying, you should start doing like physical reality courses. But really, I'm too busy to do that. Yeah. And the reason I wanted to do an online course is whenever I attended courses, I would probably come away retaining maybe a third of the knowledge that had actually been given. Whereas an online course, you can take that third in and absorb it and then go back and take another third in. So you can keep going back to where you are, and then just keep retaining that knowledge, and you should be able to take more from it. That's the idea anyway.
I'm completely fascinated with this idea, and after having watched so many episodes of the Hoof GP, like I was talking, my brother was over last night, and we were dealing with some stuff with my chickens, and I was talking to him, I was like, have you ever trimmed your cow's hooves? And he's like, no, but I've been watching that guy that you guys are interviewing, and I'm thinking I need to do it. And I'm like, all right, well, let's figure this out. And we're both excited and still apprehensive about how to do it. So the idea,
I'll do it.
Thank you very much. The idea that there's a course out there that could teach us how to do it, because it is something that is a really important part of maintaining the animal, because so many people, especially in our area, they don't have cows that they're milking daily. They don't have cows that they're going to process. They have cows so that they can get a tax exemption because they've got cattle. And so because they have cattle now,
clear their land too. There's a couple of benefits.
Yeah, that there's an ag exemption. Well, that animal still has to be cared for in a lot of ways, and the hoof trimming is a big part of it. So I want to talk about the trimming itself. Now that we've kind of talked around all of that stuff, this is why we had you on the show. The
Yeah.
It's absolutely fascinating what ends up in cow hoofs and
It
what
is, yeah.
squirts out of cow hoofs and all of that.
Yeah, it looks solid.
So I mentioned earlier that my wife does not like watching the Hoof GP because of that. She doesn't like the Dr. Pimple Popper stuff. She doesn't like any of that.
Yeah.
But she got tricked into watching the Hoof GP because of the music. So while we've seen some other hoof trimmers that they use, like country music, or they'll use like a hard rock, you use these very pretty folksy songs. And my wife...
As you watch me trim away this overburdening hoof horn, try to focus on where my knife is. Focus on what I am peeling away and what I am leaving. I'm trying to make sure I don't cut into any live tissue whatsoever.
And my wife comes over and she's listening to that and she's like, "Oh, hey, what are you watching?" And then you're in with the knife and you just hook something off. Why did you do that with the music? And also, thank you for doing that with the music, because it got one of the greatest reactions out of my wife that I've ever seen.
So I get a comment a lot that soppy love songs don't go with hoof trimming. Like, I get that sometimes. the vast majority of people like the music and they come back to the music. But the music isn't to go with the hoof trimming. The music is actually to go with how I feel about hoof trimming and my life. So this kind of sounds a little bit maybe over the top, but it is true. I think of my life as quite romantic. Like, I love doing what I do. I love being out at 3 o'clock in the morning, trimming away, and I just kind of get absorbed in it. I float away and dream about other things. And the songs that I pick kind of like are to transmit the emotions that I feel about my life. Now it sounds over the top. It really does.
Yeah, but it's cool.
But it's how I feel about my life. So even if it sounds soppy, it's the truth. So that's why the music is the way it is.
That's so awesome. That, if you've got this romantic view of what you're doing, especially because what you're doing is great.
You're the William Shakespeare of hoof trimming.
You would be amazed how often I get that. Never, literally never.
Okay, so for people who want to know some of the terminology, now you did get a brand new crush, which is a beautiful lime green, which I love. I love bright colors, and so seeing that was great. The video quality has improved a ton, and especially in like that video.
Did you get new GoPros?
Well, it looks like drone shots. Are you using drones now for your videos?
So I do have a drone. Actually, that one, the interior shots where I kind of whistle roundabout was shot on a gimbal, so it was shot on a DSLR.
Okay, yeah.
But usually it's GoPros because I can throw them to the side, and they're
pretty durable.
Yeah. So you can just toss them to the side. I do have plenty of DSLRs. I actually studied photography when I was younger, so I love cameras, but it's just not practical to use a decent camera on a farm.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when we were telling people that we were going to do this interview, we had a few of our friends that watched some of your videos. A lot of them knew about you already. A few hadn't been exposed to the Hoof GP. Then there were two questions that popped up. The first was, what is the Hoof GP? Because so many people thought that it stood for general practitioner.
Yeah.
And then there are some that were like, well, he introduces himself. He says his name is Graeme Parker. So, which is it? Is it general practitioner? Is it Graeme Parker? Is it something else?
You tell me. So I always wanted to set up a business in my own name. I used to trade under Graeme Parker Hoof Trimming, and I kind of like the name the Hoof Doctor, but the Hoof GP, like GP, general practitioner, it just seemed too obvious.
Yeah.
Not to use it.
Yeah.
So it's the Hoof General Practitioner, the Hoof GP. My name's Graeme Parker. So it's both. If you look at I don't know if you've noticed the logo before, it's a stethoscope surrounding a hoof to allude towards a general practitioner. So it's a bit of both, yeah.
That's awesome. The second question that we got was, we see so many things, but there's a sensory perception that stops on video. Mm-hmm. We can see things, we can hear things, but the smell is the one thing that people were asking about more than anything else. Is you got to ask him, How bad do those hoofs smell, especially the ones that are infected? How bad is the stench?
Okay, so disclaimer here. I've had my nose broken 7 times and I've had my eye sockets fractured. So the smell for me isn't too bad. It can be absolutely putrid. It can be so bad that you're trimming. So obviously when you're on a farm, everything is covered in manure. Everything's covered in slurry. Just cows defecate constantly. So there's a smell of slurry, which, to be honest, you completely get accustomed to, and it kind of fades away into nothing. But over the top of that, if you get something that's got a real putrid infection, it can be very, very bad. The worst smelling thing, believe it or not, is when you get a tail that's infected. It would make you gag and want to throw up. It is just the most disgusting smell ever. But when it comes to the abscesses and things, they don't actually smell as bad as you would imagine. They taste pretty bad. I've had that a couple of times. Actually,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I want to hear this story.
Yeah.
So one time, Craig, the guy that works with me, so we call him Townies. He's not a country boy. He's from the town originally, and he's married to my sister. So basically, I threw him a bone and gave him a job. Mm-hmm. And on the first week out, we had a cow with a really swollen hock. So a hock is like the knee of the cow on the back foot, and she had a really swollen hock, and I didn't notice it, to be honest. And a lot of times they'll have like a lipoma or something in there, and it's just hard flesh. But he was standing about maybe 2 yards away from the back end of the crush. I lifted her leg, and this cyst just exploded in his face. And when I say in his face, I mean, he looked like he'd been dunked in a cream pie. And Craig does not have a strong stomach. So as I was bent double, laughing my head off, literally peeing myself, he was over in the corner puking. He was literally throwing up. So, yeah, the smell can be bad, but the taste is worse.
That is the exact content that I wanted out of this. That's perfect.
Cyst exploding.
There's actually a video on my channel where I lift a cow's leg and it just explodes. I can't recall off the top of my head what it's called, but you see it just everywhere. It just goes. And when that happens, like you get this, like you feel bad, and then you realize actually the pressure's released, so it's a good thing for the cow.
Yeah.
It just looks horrendous.
Ugh.
Wow. Well, I have a follow-up question that I need answers on.
Is this about the taste? You gotta try to
No.
get him to put.
No. Graham, you said you've had your nose broken 7 times and your eye socket once. Is this from cow kicks, or is this completely unrelated?
No, it's a combination of headbutts, kicks, and mountain biking. So yeah, once I was so I used to trim cows' feet on my own. And it's an inherently dangerous thing because a dairy cow weighs around 500 kilos, like 1,100 pounds roughly. And
I appreciate you translating that for
thank you. Thank you.
So once I was actually trimming on my own, and I remember we were in a straw-bedded pen, and I tripped over something, or I thought I tripped over something, and I stood up. And you know when you trip over something, you fall, you kind of laugh because you think somebody else saw you, and you kind of go, ha, like, what an idiot, I tripped over. So I'm kind of laughing at myself. There's no one else around, and I look down, and there's blood everywhere. And then I realized it's spraying out of my face, and I was like, what? So I'm like touching my face. I'm like, oh, what? And I look down, blood everywhere, and it took me, I would say, a good 3 or 4 minutes to realize that the cow had knocked me unconscious with her head. So she literally, as I had walked past, I wasn't paying attention, and she'd thrown her head up in my face. I remember it now. It was like being hit by a train, and my nose, it was pure comedy gold. My nose was like pointed westward, and my face was pointed eastward, and it was bad. And I thought, oh, this is bad. So I finished up trimming the next couple of cows, and I thought I best go to hospital. So I went to hospital, and it turned out she'd actually fractured my eye socket in like 3 places, and my nose was terrible. But it was so bad they couldn't reset it there and then. They had to wait 2 weeks for the swelling to go down.
Oh my gosh.
I was a very pretty picture for the next 2 weeks.
Wow. Oh man.
Yeah, it is. That is something that needs to be noted. With cleaning cow hoofs, those animals are enormously strong.
Yeah.
I was at my in-laws sometime last week. They have a couple of cows, and one of them came over. It was the mom. There's a mom and a fleggling cow. I don't know. I forget what they're called.
Baby.
That would be a calf.
Yeah.
Calf. There you go. That's a simpler word. But yeah, the mom came over and licked my hand, and there's a really long tongue, and she leaned on me, and I was petting her. But when leaning on me, I realized how heavy they are and how strong. Like she could push me all the way out if she wanted to.
Game over. If all of a sudden they get upset for even just a moment, you're in serious danger.
And she was very sweet and just wanted some pets, but strong animals.
If
dangerous.
If you lean into a cow and push a cow, the funny thing is they push back against you. It's their prey instinct. An animal expert once told me that it's when you're pushing into the back of a cow, particularly like her hip area, they perceive something bad to be happening, and the prey instinct of them being bitten by something and not wanting the flesh to be torn from them instinctively pushes them towards you, which completely rings true. If you ever go up near a cow in passing and you push into her, she'll push straight back.
That's
so it's
wild.
not aggressively. She just doesn't want to be hurt in any way, and she thinks if she pulls away, she'll be hurt.
What instinct do they have when you smack them on the rear?
Oh, they love it, yeah. It's usually to kick straight backwards.
Yeah. Okay, so
Stop that.
After I was exposed to your channel, I watched. There's some other YouTubers now that are doing hoof trimming, and I'm not going to name names. But it seems like after watching some of their videos, I always come back to yours, not just because the music is so lovely, but you seem to have a different level of care for the animals than even the other people that are doing it online. Not to diminish, what they do or how much they care for the animals that they're looking after.
Sounds like you got something to say.
No, okay. There is something to say. Graeme uses several different techniques. He uses different kinds of medication to put on it. It doesn't seem to be like this. I'm going to trim the hoof. I'm going to put a block on. I'm going to throw salicylic acid on it, wrap it up, and then that's going to be good. That there are different kinds of treatments and stuff that you use for the hoof, whether or not it needs a block, uses one block or two, and all of that. Like there is a different type of care that obviously that you have for these animals that you've built up over years, and it's obvious that you love doing this. What is it that determines specifically with like the type of thing that you put on there, how aggressively you treat it? Whereas it seems like a lot of people use salicylic acid as a fix-all. I've seen you use probably 2 or 3 different compounds pretty consistently. Does that have to do with how bad the infection is or the type of infection or what is that?
It has to do with a couple of different things. The word you use there, aggressive, is really important because salicylic acid is basically what aspirin's derived from, kind of. And also, like for instance, that verruca, if you have a verruca on your foot or if you had a really bad acne problem, you would use a product with salicylic acid in it. Now, it says salicylic acid and everybody knows that. The percentage in that is 0.5% salicylic acid. When you put that powder on, it's 100%. So it's 200 times stronger than what is recommended for use on a human.
Oh, wow.
Now, so it's incredibly strong. Now, if you put that on a hoof, doesn't matter. A hoof's keratin, it's dead material, same as our hair. Our hair's made of keratin. You're not going to feel it. But it is an incredibly strong product. So if you have a very strong infection like digital dermatitis or foul in the foot, which is something else, you could use salicylic acid. And what it does is it kills all of the skin. That's how it works. It kills the skin, but within that skin is the infection. So you're killing the skin and you're killing the infection, and then that dries out or dehydrates the skin and it allows new growth underneath. So if a cow only has a mild digital dermatitis infection and we don't need to kill the skin, I try not to kill the skin because she'll heal much quicker by doing that. If you imagine we kill the skin, so it has to completely regrow to then now grow good horn on top of it, or we could just kill the infection and let the horn grow almost instantaneously, then I'll go for that option. So you'll see me use like a green spray or blue spray, depends what it is. They're much milder solutions. They don't kill the skin or the horn follicles or the corium or whatever, whereas salicylic acid will completely kill that and allow it to come back through. Not that I'm dissing on salicylic acid, because it is a phenomenal product and it works brilliantly in the right application. So yeah, it's just me trying to fix the cows as quickly as I possibly can through different uses. Like iodine, for instance, it's good.
Well, that sounds like what doctors do.
Iodine is also known as iodine on this side of the pond.
In strange parts of the world, they mispronounce it. Correct.
Hey, what do you call that shiny foil that you put on food to keep it fresh?
We call it tin foil, and you call it, what is it you call it?
Aluminum.
Aluminum foil.
I wasn't sure if you said
aluminium. Yeah, aluminium.
So I'm also curious about the blocks. Because you'll put a block on a cow's hoof. As you said before, you deal with cow weight distribution.
And a block is like I've seen a lot of different colors, but it's a purple. Yeah,
purple, green. There's some white ones that he puts on the hoof in order to elevate if a cow's got, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the expert here. I just listen to an expert.
No, you tell me.
So if one of the cow's claws is infected, in order to elevate it to keep it dry so that the hoof can grow back properly, so that the horn on the hoof can regrow, he puts a block on it in order to keep it elevated, sometimes two, but there's a lot of different materials. One of the things recently you said in your videos is that you're using an organic block now. So what is...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, what is the organic block? How does that work and why is that important?
So you were correct and slightly incorrect there.
Perfect. That's how I live my life, slightly incorrect. Yeah.
You don't want to be right all the time. That's boring.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do put blocks on, but it's predominantly to take the weight completely off the sore part, not to keep the sore part dry. But in some cases, I'll put 2 blocks on because I know it's a particularly dirty or wet farm. And you're right, keeping the hoof dry really helps to promote the healing process. So yeah, I'm using bio blocks or organic blocks, and it's an organic plastic, which sounds ridiculous, but it's fantastic stuff. It's like a kind of vegetable oil bioplastic that comes from Italy, and it really is good. I don't always use them because, I want to look after the environment. That is something I'm conscious of.
Sure.
But more importantly for me is the health of the cow immediately. So you can use a plastic block or you can use an organic plastic block, and the organic one will obviously biodegrade much more. Well, it'll biodegrade. The plastic one will take millions of years to degrade. But where the advantage of the plastic one is, if a cow has a long-term problem, the plastic one will not wear down at all. A biodegradable one will wear down, and then we'll need to get the cow in again to reattend to her. We still need to do that with the plastic ones, but the plastic ones won't wear down at all, so she gets better pain relief from using the plastic ones. And the wooden ones, we use the wooden ones as well, but they wear down much more quickly than the biodegradable plastic ones.
Makes sense. So
that was quite complicated, though, at the same time, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's the explanation that we wanted. Now I want to know, what's the weirdest thing you've ever found in a cow hoof? We've seen teeth, we've seen screws. What's the strangest thing that you've ever found in one?
We find quite a lot of beer bottle caps. I don't know where they come from, but we do find that fairly regularly. The worst thing was, and it's in a video, and it's not that weird. It was a screw, but the screw was 5 inches long.
Good grief.
And when we first saw it, it was literally the head of the screw sticking out. So I assumed it was a broken screw head. I didn't think it could possibly be the whole screw, and it just kept coming. Like I literally couldn't believe it. I picked it up, and it's in the video, and I hold it next to the cow's hoof to show you how far in it must have been, and it would almost have been piercing through the top side of her hoof. And actually, she made a complete and full recovery. So yeah, that was pretty incredible. We don't find anything that weird. We find a lot of teeth.
Yeah.
A lot of teeth, and that sounds silly, but it's actually a really good sign. It's not good for the cow, but it's a good sign for the farm that you find teeth. And the reason is cows don't start losing their teeth until they're much older, which means if there are a lot of teeth being found in cows' feet, they have a lot of older cows, which means they're looking after the cows really well.
I know where the beer bottle caps come from.
Where's that?
The horses. They're pranksters.
Yeah.
You think that's what it's the horses.
Yeah. You got to watch those horses.
Well, I do want to solve something. I'm wondering what you think.
Here we go.
Here we go. It seems like the problem with cows is that they're very dirty.
Yeah.
How do we stop them from being dirty?
Put them in fields.
Okay. So instead of dirt or sending in their own manure in a barn, put them in fields?
Put them in fields, yeah. So if the cows are in fields, they're not as dirty. In southwest Scotland, we have a really inherently wet climate, so they're still going to get muddy, but the mud isn't manure, so it's inert. It's not dirty. But the problem comes with we have a massive population to feed, and we don't have enough land available to put the cows in the green pastures. Otherwise, we would, because it's best for cows. But the logistics aren't possible. So it's not possible to kind of feed the nation and have all the cows outside. What we can do is, a lot of my farms do have spotlessly clean cows, believe it or not. But it's a massive task that they undertake to constantly clean and sweep and scrape the cubicles and the passageways that the cows are on. They also they're bed with sawdust and they're bed with sand, and all those kind of things add up to helping to keep the cows clean. We also put, believe it or not, automatic and hydraulic brushes so that the cows love. So the cows will go up and they'll brush themselves up against these brushes, and they absolutely love it, like a dog being petted. And that helps to keep them clean as well. But at the end of the day, when cows are kept inside on concrete, they produce a lot of manure, and that manure goes down their back end. It's the nature of the beast. Some people clip their cows. That helps an awful lot. So the solution is keep them out in perfectly green pastures, but it's not possible, unfortunately, all of the time. A lot of my farms do that, but not all of them, because it's not possible.
That makes sense. I mean, you mentioned much earlier on driving to, you said there's, the two major cities and they're hours apart. In Texas, we can drive 12 hours and we're still in Texas. Like there's a lot of land. The potential to keep cattle out in the open is more doable with countries that aren't as landlocked.
Yeah.
Was that smart?
Absolutely.
Was that a smart thing to say?
It sounded like a smart thing to say.
Okay.
We'll
sure.
let Graeme be the judge.
The climate has a massive impact as well.
Yeah.
For instance, if you go to Wisconsin, the cows will be cleaner than they are in Scotland or England because the climate is drier. So where slurry here will stay wet, or by slurry I mean manure, will stay wet for much longer than it would in Wisconsin because it's a drier climate. So it doesn't stay as wet for as long, which sounds such a simple explanation. That's easy for me to say, that it's not true, but it is true.
Yeah, there were dry cow patties all over the
throw
place.
them
We would chunk them at each other. We'd have fights with them.
Like a frisbee, we did that when we were kids.
Yeah, but it's not. If a cow was in a pasture, at 6 a.m. in Texas, those patties are dry.
Those are cooked.
You got by noon, you got a whole new breadth of ammunition. But you're
You're respawning.
But you're saying in Scotland it's not quite that way just because of the climate.
Yeah, just purely because of the climate. So if we have the cows out in the field all year round, they become very muddy. And while mud is not as dirty, which seems strange, as slurry or manure is, it still would create its own problems. For instance, you get sand cracks from excessive drying. When you see a riverbed, it all cracks and it dries out, it cracks. Yeah. Well, if cows' feet become coated in mud, the exact same thing happens.
Oh, wow.
The mud draws out the moisture from the hoof capsule. Now, you don't think of a hoof as being moist, but there is moisture in there. And if it's drawn out, then it begins to crack. So you can say, yeah, these cows are really dirty, you shouldn't keep them inside, but actually put them outside and they're going to get some different problems, but they will look cleaner. It's just
sounds like a lose-lose with cows.
You're
inside or outside.
You're not going to bring cows into your subdivision now. Is that what you're trying to tell Graeme?
No, I'm not getting a cow.
Your 0 lot line house. You're not going to be able to try to squeeze a cow back there.
No.
Wow.
Maybe a chicken.
Well, I do want to give, you talked earlier about Craig, and I want to give a little shout out to him. He has started kind of an offshoot YouTube channel. He's gotten a bunch of followers there. What is it that you guys are doing on his channel that's different from what people will find on the Hoof GP channel?
So it's not focused around hoof trimming so much. It's focused around everything that surrounds hoof trimming. So within his channel, he's not showing people how to hoof trim. He's not concentrating on the actual hoof trim. He's more concentrating on how our life is around hoof trimming. So how we set up, how we get there, a little bit of friendly chat and things. And I'll be honest, YouTube creates money. It creates revenue for me. Craig's my brother-in-law, and I want him to do really well in life as well. So he was on about starting a YouTube channel for doing different things. And I was like, look, man, do it behind the scenes of the Hoof GP. Like, you're gonna just ride the wave a little bit and show people are interested in the life we have in Southwest Scotland. And so I completely encourage. Well, I didn't encourage him. I just told him get it started, and he did. And he's coming on leaps and bounds. He's already at like 40,000 subscribers, I think. So
good.
Yeah. So it's really good to see. He doesn't have that much confidence. And believe it or not, actually, I'm quite a shy person, which seems strange. And people say, I don't know how you can do what you do. But really, like right now, I'm sitting in my office talking to a camera. I don't feel like I'm talking to...
On the other end is 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm super extroverted.
You bathe in the in the limelight.
That's it. I just want to be. I don't need to be the center of attention. I just want to be around a crowd of people.
Yeah.
Just to hang out. So, there was another question that your kids. So we've focused a ton on the stuff with the Hoof GP. What do your kids think about the fact that their dad is a YouTuber with 1 million followers? You know, what do the kids think about that? Or are they used to it because now you're just dad?
Well, yeah, but I'm definitely not their favorite YouTuber. He'll be the first person to tell you that.
Is it Moose
or Blippy?
Blippy. Oh no, it's unspeakable. The sharers.
Yeah. That's
but yeah, no, they love it. They just wanted a gold play button, to be honest. And now they're very happy. I told them to begin with that there was no chance I was ever getting them a gold play button, so put that out of their heads. And now we're sitting with a gold play button behind me, which I never really thought would happen. They think it's cool. They don't think, oh, that's embarrassing or anything. And that their friends are. It's funny because all their friends love the Hoof GPs. Which, like, I talk about the Hoof GP like it's somebody else because, like, they love that. But I'll go and pick my kids up from school and they don't look at me or anything like that. But they wear all the merch and they all love that kind of thing. And some of them actually come along to the farms because obviously I work on the farms that some of their parents work at. So on a day off, like, my kids' friends will come along for the ride just to see what we're doing and stuff. So yeah, they actually. My son, to show you how they approve of it, his handle on Fortnite is the Hoof GP's kid.
Oh, so, that's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So they like it, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard work. It's not all just shooting pus at Uncle Craig.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah. They like me. They're in quite a few of the videos and things, and they like it. I really include the kids in work, not just YouTube and not for the purpose of YouTube at all. I would never do that. But they come along hoof trimming with me because I think it's really important to learn aspects of safety and hard work and all that kind of thing. So, and they're in the videos and they don't mind that. They don't love it or hate it or anything. they don't mind it.
That's just part of life, which is so cool. Well, Graeme, man, we really appreciate the time. We end all of our interviews, though, with a series of rapid-fire questions, so you can answer these as quickly or at length as you want to. There are no right answers, but there are several wrong ones, so be careful for that. And as we enter into controlled rowdiness, Dan Gibson, I'll give you the first question.
Sure. Well, we have a very well-documented your steps to caring for bovine feet, as we decided earlier. What are your steps caring for your own feet?
I let the wife do it. She actually had to rub some Epimax into my feet the other day because they were really itchy and dry. Other than that, I don't use the grinder on my toenails, if that's what you're asking.
Oh yeah. What percentage salicylic acid is in Epimax?
0, actually. It's just an anti-itch cream, I think.
Well, there you go.
I was hoping it was 0.005%. 400% less.
400% less. There's an interesting fact that our audience just found out about Danley, and that's that he doesn't wash his feet at all. What advice would you give to him for his own foot care?
That's not entirely true, but...
You don't wash your feet at all.
So what I do, there is a method to this. You get in the shower and you use soap everywhere, and the soap runs down onto your feet.
Right, so it's not like the whole, if you don't wash your hair for 3 months, it takes care of itself kind of bar.
Soap gets on my feet.
Yeah, along with all the filth that has come off of your body.
You would not even... Oh, yeah, okay. I think we say there's along with the filth in the shower. It's like, you're not going to believe this. The shower is so clean.
Yeah, I don't
It has soap on it all the time.
The only advice I can give you is not to go and visit the Toe Bro, who has a YouTube channel, because you'll probably be asked to leave if they smell that bad.
What was the name of the YouTube channel again?
The Toe Bro.
Toe Bro.
The Toe Bro.
Toe Bro, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to check it out.
I'm so grossed out.
I'm sure I'll get kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
Oh, I'm up.
Yeah. Yeah,
How
I
did
asked
this
him to
happen?
take care of your feet.
Hey, can we
happened.
send some phrases through Zoom?
Through the Zoom chat? Let's see if we can.
I wonder if that'll be better.
If we can make that happen.
And then I'll vamp while we do that.
Yeah, Danley's got some things he wants to try to get Graeme to say, I believe, is where we're going here.
Yeah, I thought that might crop up.
Okay.
I can talk.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. What's this from Lucas Pickard? Iron. Eczema. Are you wanting me to say these?
Yeah, that's it. He just wants you to say these.
Opportunity.
Yeah, they just sound normal, but
they just sound the same.
But kind of cool.
If I put on a really strong Scottish accent, like you should have been getting me to say, "There's been a murder."
Yeah. Yes.
or the term a burger. Rural juror. That's quite hard.
Oh yeah, that's a good
rural
one.
Juror.
Yeah.
Rural juror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
You guys, you all say yogurt wrong as well, don't you?
How do you say it?
Yogurt. You say yogurt.
Yes, I yogurt.
Yeah, we do say yogurt.
Yeah. That sounds dumb when we say it. Yogurt.
Well, they invented the language. That's why it's better when they do it.
Would you get me some yogurt? It does sound dumb. I'm with you. There's a couple of words I think you guys just do much better.
Yeah.
I don't know about butterglad.
We've got a lot of real colloquialisms here that you guys wouldn't have a clue what they were.
Okay,
if I said,
shoot.
how are the Kai? What would it be?
How are the Kai?
Yeah.
No idea.
No idea.
So Kai is a plural of cows.
Oh,
how are the Kai? What else? Cha. Do you want a cup of cha?
Tea? I'm guessing from
Tea. Yeah.
that was just guessing from context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you sleek it.
I don't know. Hair gel?
Sleek it is like somebody who kind of weasels their way through life, doing the kind of going under the radar and doing things they shouldn't really do.
That's me.
So it's Danley. That's totally Danley.
Or here in Southwest Scotland, we describe Dan as an idjit. Do you know what an idjit is?
I have heard idjit. We say idjit.
Yeah, is it just
Idjit.
Idiot?
Yeah,
that's perfect. Yeah,
I have been called idjit before.
which is pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay, serious question now. Dr. Pepper, because Dr. Pepper in the UK is a product of Scotland. Dr. Pepper or Iron Bru?
That's not even a question. That's just
Don't say Iron Brew.
well, it's Iron Bru though, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't had it.
It's made from girders, so like
Made from what?
the advert is it's made from girders. So have you guys ever and everybody listening to this as well, have you ever looked up an Iron Bru advert?
No, I had never heard of Iron Brew until
This
10
will
seconds ago.
Change your life. This will change your life. Completely forget the taste of Dr. Pepper vs Iron Brew. Go, and I promise you, go and search for Iron Brew adverts. And these are official adverts that go out on terrestrial TV, Sky TV, all the big channels. Go and search for an Iron Brew advert, and you'll understand why Iron Brew beats Dr. Pepper.
Okay. I mean, those are bold. That's a bold endorsement.
Okay.
Because we're in Texas and we love our Dr. Pepper. But
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm in for the journey.
Okay.
I'm into the Iron Brew journey.
We'll have to insert an Iron Brew advert right here that we pirated off of YouTube.
Gosh, you know, it's one of those ads. Lots of kids with white teeth and giant shoulder pads. It's not a drink from those crazy Yanks because it's made right here. You know it's tougher than tanks. Making chocolate from girders, unpronounceable too. Made in Scotland from girders. It's called bars Iron Brew. Still, this ad is really quite fun. Could give me a hit single, go to #1. The only fly in the ointment's Iron Brew's dead claim. Made in Scotland from girders. There goes my chance of fame. It's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Do feel free. They're fantastic.
That's good. Regular. What would you take? Haggis or bangers?
Haggis every time. Have you guys had haggis?
I have had haggis.
have not.
When I lived in Scotland, that was one of the things I had to try.
And haggis is sheep's stomach with a bunch of stuff in it, right?
No, it's not. So it's cooked in sheep's stomach. So like it's cooked in like the intestines of a sheep, but it tastes great. It's awesome. You get spicy ones. Yeah, it's awesome.
The
It's really
spicy
good.
ones are delicious.
I also am in for the haggis journey. I just don't have haggis near me.
It
maybe
kind
you
of
can
sounds
ship
gross.
some over.
Yeah.
We'll
ship.
order our Hoof GP hoodies that are in the same color as the new Crush, and he can just wrap some haggis in them, and then just send them over, and we'll be good. Those, and if he gets us some chocolate hobnobs, then we'll be all set.
Can't be a hobnob.
Oh man, the UK chocolate is so much better than the stuff that we get over here.
Well,
It's so different.
It is.
It's unbelievable. We thought, I'll be honest, we were stateside last year, and we were really looking forward to like the chocolate and the candy and things. And our kids were like, "Oh, what's this?"
Yeah.
Like, it's chocolate. It's fine. Give us it here. We were blown away by how different it was, and I actually liked it, but it was completely different.
It's so much more sugary
I was gonna
over
say,
here.
what's the difference? It's sweeter.
Yeah, it's a lot more sugar
Because we
over
like
here.
milk chocolate. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing
Yeah.
in other parts of the world it's darker and
Well,
more cacao.
To be honest, the milk chocolate was completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what the difference was. It was a completely different taste.
We'll have to take you to like one of the local candy stores that's
We'll
here.
have Iron Brew, haggis, and chocolate.
and
hobnobs.
dairy milk. We'll get some dairy milk, which is a chocolate bar that's over in the UK, or some Arrow. And those are good.
Arrow's
Oh yeah, Arrows are so delicious.
Yeah, Arrow's good. When you have the Iron Brew and the chocolate and the haggis, try to eat them separately.
Just making a s'more out of Iron Brew.
This is terrible.
Okay, a proper Scottish afternoon is Iron Brew chocolate and haggis.
Well, my last question is: we know that you're married, as you have a family and kids. Do you have any brothers?
I have 2 elder brothers. Yeah,
Because we have a lady over here that we think would fit. That you would fit in a pair of pants. You know where I'm going with this?
I'm kind of worried where you're going with this.
We have a comedian friend that we're trying to find her a husband.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And based off this interview, I think you come from good stock.
Yeah. So if you've got a single brother and you want to export him for a trip to Texas, you can come along. And she'll be in February. Mm-hmm. She'll be back in the Dallas area.
She's very funny, very talented, successful comedian.
I'll be honest, I have the perfect person. I'll just box up Craig and send him out.
Bring him over.
There you go.
Doing me a favor, doing you guys a favor.
We'll do a crossover episode.
We'll let Kristen Weber know that we have a select.
Yes, he's a strapping Scottish lad that doesn't do well with pus on his face, but outside of that, we'll be all good.
Okay.
He strapping Scottish lad kind of doesn't really fit he's like a small version of a human. He's little. When you say, he looks like he's in the distance.
Like how tall is he?
Does he wear overalls?
Does he wear? He does wear overalls. Yeah,
check.
He's like
perfect.
He's like 5'6", maybe 5'7", something like that.
Okay,
what's wrong with that?
It's like normal but smaller.
It's a short guy.
Okay. I'm exactly the same height as what he's talking about Craig is. All right, just because I'm sitting on a phone book right now.
I said it was the perfect height.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Graeme, thanks so much for being on the show, man. Tell our audience where it is that they can find you on social media.
If you just search for the term the Hoof GP, you'll find me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yeah, and Graeme's got a ton of cool stuff outside of the course that he's got online. If you want to know how to hoof trim, he's got some really cool merch that you can get for the Hoof GP. Make sure that you go check out his stuff. Links to all that will be in the show notes. Graeme, thanks so much for being on the show, man. We appreciate the time.
Not a problem. I really enjoyed it, guys. Cheers for having me.
Graeme freaking Parker, the Hoof GP.
The Hoof Gup.
The Hoof Gup, the Hoof General Practitioner, the Hoof Graeme Parker.
I was glad to get some clarity on that.
Yeah, me too.
What does the GP stand for, Lucas?
Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Have you just been doing that voice nonstop?
Yes. Since we hung out with Mike, Heather is just over it.
Yeah.
She loves Mike, and I always say, like, okay, I'll stop talking about Mike, or when we hung out with him, and you can talk about Mike, you just can't use his voice.
Well, if you listen to last week's episode, you'll know who we're talking about. But if you listened to this one that we're just talking about, you're going to be interested in Graeme Parker. So we got to talk to Graeme off air a little bit, and I'll tease this ahead. We are setting a date to interview him again in either January or February, because he's written a book about his journey to becoming the Hoof GP. 1.1 million followers, almost 1.2 million followers on YouTube.
He's got the gold play button.
He's got a gold play button, right? His kids absolutely love it. But it all started out with him wanting to educate people on a very specific but very important part of bovine health, which is the weight distribution of cows.
I apparently don't know anything about cows.
Right.
Because I couldn't come up with bovine nor calf.
Nor the word calf.
Like, what's a bovine adolescent?
I just think it's so crazy that this giant YouTube channel, and he talks about it, this is now a substantial portion of his income, came from hoof trimming, like trimming a cow's feet. But it just goes to show you that there are...
What if I could do the same thing with like guitar strings?
Maybe.
The problem is
making guitar strings?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. No, like changing guitar strings.
Oh, yeah. Here's my guitar string changing
I should have gone with
channel.
that. I'm just saying, like, what do I have that he has? Like, he's got a very specific niche that is really interesting. I don't think I have one.
But what's so crazy about it is how many people, and he talked about it, that a lot of his viewers are from the inner city. They're townies. They're not people that are on farms. They don't have anything. We just have this weird fascination with hoof trimming. And, seeing, like, what's the next crazy thing he's going to pull out? Or
let's be honest. We're all fascinated with pus.
Well, okay.
I'm not saying you and I.
We've said that word so many times in this episode.
We're all fascinated with it. It's the reason that the pimple popper is so big. He's as big as he is because we like to see some pus. And I know that sounds bad. It sounds gross, but it's true. That's what it is.
There's so many things in his videos where he encourages.
It's the reason we all pull our scabs off, at least as kids.
Oh my gosh, this is becoming the worst after episode. But there are parts where he encourages people to try and diagnose. Hey, put in the comments whether or not you think that this is digital dermatitis. Did you see this? How many things can you identify by the smell of all this stuff? It's just totally fascinating. But the coolest thing to me about all of it is that this is his real life. He's really enjoying it. He's having a ton of fun with everything that's happening within his job, and he's using just the footage of him going about his daily life is now something that's so unique and so interesting and cool that it's making him money, on the side.
Hand over hoof.
Yeah, hand over hoof over fist.
I shouldn't.
To do some cool stuff.
joke.
Absolutely awesome. Make sure that you check out the Hoof GP on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and check out some of his merch. He's got some really cool merchandise. He also has, if you are a local farmer or if you're just a person that has a cow, in order to get your ag exemption, check out his video series on hoof trimming, why it's important, and some overall bovine care, which is really cool. And being in Texas is something that a lot of us can use. You got anything?
Yeah. Also, make sure you use the correct dosage of salicylic acid when you're washing your face.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't use hoof.
Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed what you heard here, make sure to like, subscribe, ding the little bell, follow us on any of the podcast apps that you're listening on, and take the time to give us a review. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, giving us a 5-star review and leaving a comment not only helps us, but it helps other people find our show. And so we greatly appreciate each and every one of you who takes the time to do that.
Don't be a jerk. Give us a review.
If you follow the show and you don't like it, you can always unfollow, right? Isn't that what you like to say?
Yeah.
Hey, y'all have good
I just like the
give,
idea.
and we'll see you next week.
Don't be a jerk.
You're terrible.
And there's going to be all 1-star reviews.
Hi, my name's Graeme Parker, the Hoof GP, and this is why you should never listen to the Reverend and the Reprobate.